All right, let's get right into it. Today, in this explainer, we are unpacking a massive structural shift happening at the absolute frontier of AI. We are way past the days of AI just being a fun app on your phone, right? Now we're looking at a world where model capability, national strategy, and global access are literally colliding. Okay, let's dive into the concrete event that sparked this whole shift. It all centers on Anthropic and a pretty fascinating tale of two frontier models. On one hand, you've got Fable 5, built to be this public-facing version, heavily guarded with safety classifiers. But on the other hand, sitting right next to it is Mythos 5. This one's restricted, it's got looser constraints, and it's intended strictly for approved government and cyber defense use cases. So the core mystery we're looking at today is why this split even exists, and what actually happens when that public version crosses an invisible, highly sensitive line. So here's how we're going to map all this out. First, we'll look at the Fable 5 turning point. Then, the shift from controlling hardware to controlling the model itself. Third, we'll break down the 5 system collision. Fourth, we'll look at mapping the chaos with the energetic paradigm. And finally, we'll wrap up with sovereign capability infrastructure. Let's jump in. Part 1. The Fable 5 turning point, and a dramatic 72-hour reversal. So according to our sources, here's exactly what went down. Anthropic releases Claude Fable 5, but within just 72 hours, a US government order completely forces the model offline. And interestingly, this restriction actually pulled Mythos 5 down with it. I mean, really think about that for a second. This was not a software bug. It wasn't your standard product recall. This was the very first time a commercial frontier model, already deployed at a massive scale, was treated like a highly sensitive national security asset instead of just a normal piece of software. And what makes this so unprecedented is the sheer scope of the takedown. This wasn't just a standard regional geo-block. Because the model crossed what we call a strategic capability threshold, the restriction hit foreign users globally. It hit foreign persons inside the US, and, get this, it even restricted foreign employees working inside the company itself. There's simply no way to enforce nationality-based technical rules fast enough. In that moment, sovereign government control suddenly overrode the company's own product governance. Which brings us to part 2, from hardware to model and moving up the control stack. Historically, whenever we talked about AI export control, it was almost always a hardware conversation. Governments restricted access to advanced GPU chips, right? Then they moved to step 2, data centers and compute controls. From there, it escalated to step 3, restricting cloud infrastructure. But the Fable 5 scenario, it pushes control all the way up to step 4. Now, the model itself, the software, the API, that is the tightly guarded asset. So, why control the model directly? Well, it's because trained capability is incredibly portable. I mean, you obviously can't email a data center, but an API can transfer elite cyber analysis, advanced coding, and incredibly complex reasoning to anyone on Earth, instantly. And it does this without even releasing the underlying model weights. This completely blurs the safe, comfortable line we used to have between a normal software service and a dangerous, strategic technology. A frontier model isn't just an app, it's a reasoning engine, a research accelerator, and a geopolitical instrument all wrapped into one. Moving on to part 3, the 5 system collision. Who actually controls the capability? You see, a frontier AI model doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It sits squarely in the crosshairs of 5 competing systems. The company system obviously wants to release it as a product in a platform. The safety system wants to filter it with guardrails and red teaming. Then you have the enterprise system, which relies on it as critical business infrastructure. The global ecosystem demands open, democratic access. But hovering over all of this is the state security system, which views the model as a strategic capability that absolutely must be contained to prevent exposure. And right at the heart of this collision is an inescapable tension. The commercial system is highly incentivized to release the strongest model as fast as possible to lock in enterprise dependency. But the state security system, it's incentivized to do the exact opposite. Their goal is to preserve national advantage and avoid exposing strategic capabilities to adversaries before defenses are ready. Now, the issue here isn't a debate over who is right or wrong. It's simply that these two systems are naturally optimized for completely conflicting objectives. Releasing a model is now simultaneously a product decision, a market decision, and a massive geopolitical decision. That takes us to part 4, the energetic paradigm framework, or how we actually map this chaos. So, How on earth do we make sense of all this? Enter the energetic paradigm, or EP for short. Usually, commentary separates technical safety, export controls, and business strategy into their own isolated silos. EP completely refuses that separation. Now, to be clear, this isn't just a cry for more government restriction, and it's definitely not some magical fix for all AI governance. Rather, it's a calm, clinical diagnostic architecture. It's a full reasoning framework that maps exactly how AI capability is generated, where it flows, where it leaks, and how it is governed, all as one unified multi-layer system. Here's how EP actually works in practice through a layered diagnostic architecture. First up, you have the capability map, which identifies the real energy nodes, like what can this model actually do in terms of coding or cyber analysis. Second is the access gradient. This defines exactly who gets what tier of capability and under what license or jurisdiction. Third, we have the risk leakage map, which spots exactly where these capabilities might slip through APIs or enterprise workflows. And finally, enterprise resilience, which shows organizations how to actually survive sudden sovereign interruptions. It's a comprehensive strategy and governance framework. The contrast here is absolutely vital. Without a framework like EP, we're just stuck with what we saw during that chaotic 72-hour reversal: reactive government restrictions, fragmented governance, isolated debates, and extreme enterprise fragility. But with EP, we get clearly mapped capability flows, explicit access layers, and a solid foundation for resilient multi-model workflows. It gives us strategic stability before the next crisis inevitably hits. Which brings us to our final part. Part 5, Sovereign Capability Infrastructure and the New Reality for AI. I actually want to read a quote directly from the source material here because it perfectly captures the sheer magnitude of what we're discussing. Quote, "Frontier AI is leaving the era of ordinary software products. The strongest models are becoming sovereign capability infrastructure." End quote. For everyday users, this means that simple global access to the absolute best model, that can no longer be assumed. The most advanced capabilities out there might be delayed, degraded, or entirely restricted based simply on your geography, your nationality, or even your industry sector. For businesses, this new reality demands immediate, serious action. Think about it. If a model can be geopolitically interrupted overnight, then blindly depending on a single closed frontier model is just a massive, unacceptable operational risk. To survive this, enterprises absolutely must adopt multi-model routing. They need to maintain open-source alternatives, and they have to invest in local deployment and auditable workflows. You literally cannot treat frontier AI as a stable, guaranteed utility anymore. You have to plan for sovereign interruption. So the Fable 5 and Mythos 5 scenario proved one major thing. The era of simple, free-flowing global software access is over. The decisive question moving forward isn't just which company's model is the smartest anymore. The real question we have to ask ourselves is this: are we actually prepared to govern capability generation, access, verification, and strategic stability as one unified system? The energetic paradigm gives us a calm, structured way to reason about that system, but ultimately it is up to us to actually build it.